Do you have any stories of what you saw, experienced, with the players? Anything that comes to mind?
Yeah, but I'm not really supposed to tell. Actually, there's one I can tell.
My next guest is a legend I've known for a while. He's the best strength and conditioning coach I know. He has worked with Partizan, Chicago Bulls, FC Bayern Munich, All-Stars, you name it, working predominantly in basketball, but has trained elite athletes all around the world in various sports. Welcome, Jovan Buha. How's everything with you? Have you been training?
Yeah, we've just gotten out of quarantine, so things are pretty hectic around here.
You're in Belgrade now, right?
Yeah, Belgrade, Serbia.
Lots of work right now. I guess it must be busy.
Yeah, it's pretty busy. I mean, the athletes around the world are having a tough time because they don't know if they're even going to have a season this year. They're not even sure about their income. It's really a crazy situation that we've never had before. But one thing is for sure: even if they're not going to play, they still have to train.
Some people might not know you, even though they should. By the end of this, they will. So I guess I just want to let you discuss a little bit about what you do, how you do it, and why you're the best.
Well, I'm a sports performance coach, and I've been doing this for quite a while. My specialty is in basketball. I've spent 90% of my time in basketball. I also have a degree in basketball coaching, so this is my forte.
Where did it all kind of start? What's the first kind of breakthrough you had?
I mean, I started my coaching career coaching actually the game basketball, but somewhere along the way, I figured out that I'm actually more interested in the physical part, in the performance. So I kind of switched careers. I enrolled into kinesiology at the university at the age of 27, 28. It was not my first choice, but obviously I have an affinity for it. It's pretty natural for me, so I caught up quickly. So I started coaching in Partizan Belgrade, which is we could call it a European powerhouse,
to say it the least.
Yeah. And I was doing that with the junior teams for a while, and then as it goes, I got skipped for every possible promotion because Serbia is notorious for destroying its young talents and banishing them abroad. So I kind of skipped overseas to America, and I went to visit the Chicago Bulls for 10 days. That was the deal. They would let me stay for 10 days and see what they're doing.
So how'd you get that call? Did someone see you training Partizan or?
No, actually, it's also a funny story. I was at the time I was consulting with the late Charlie Francis, the famous Canadian sprint coach, which was real genius. And somewhere he mentioned that he used to consult for the Chicago Bulls, and they were really a great team. They were doing a great job. I could actually learn something there. So I went on the website. I found the number. I called them up. Amazingly enough, they said, yeah, why not? They took a look at my resume. And they said, yeah, come over.
They signed you on a 10-day.
I was yeah. I was a lot of questions. I was really curious, and I guess my boss. I mean, I have to mention Mr. Eric Helland now with the University of Wisconsin. Truly amazing coach. He kind of liked my curiosity, and he thought maybe I was worth something. So after 7 days, he kind of asked me if I would like to stay and hang around, help around, and I was just blown away. But in America, these things can happen.
Living the American dream.
Yeah.
That must have been crazy, though. That was that expected? Did you think you'd stay after those 10 days, or did they just?
Absolutely, I was not making any such plans. I was completely caught off guard.
So they saw that in you, and you stayed. That's cool. How was that? What was that like, being integrated in the team and everything? That was around 2009, I think.
2009, 2010 season. Derrick Rose was still there.
Yeah, that was the year after he got his Rookie of the Year award.
It was amazing. I mean, not only was I able to see a lot of things, and really my learning curve just became really, really steep. But also I got a chance to, in a way, be a part of a truly great organization with a lot of fascinating history and accomplishments, and the whole thing that we can see on television these days. You can really feel that culture.
Are you watching The Last Dance right now?
Of course, everyone is it's a dream come true for me that I actually made a show like that. I'm just living my dream now and watching this, and I was like, finally.
How realistic are they? I mean, you weren't there in the period while Jordan was there, but I'm sure that legacy is even still there to this day, obviously. But what's the aftermath like, and like how realistic was it from the people you've worked with and spoken to who have worked with him, or within the organization?
Yeah, in my opinion, it's everything I've seen up till now is exactly how I heard it. The stories are the same. I was actually expecting the show to maybe not be so realistic. It's pretty accurate, and stories are real.
Imagine the people who were sitting on that footage for that many years now and have finally come out with a big story.
Yeah,
it's incredible.
What I would have liked to see a little bit more light on the organization itself, because it's mostly Jordan, and he deserves it, but the organization itself is pretty amazing. They really do things right, and they function like a tribe, like a family. It's the best organization I've ever seen, not only in sports, like overall.
So what brings them to that level of eliteness? Obviously, they're in the NBA, that already grants them that. But
I think it's their the fact that they already accomplished so much, and that they just I think they hold themselves to a really high standard, not only professionally but interpersonal relationships. It's hard to say. There's a certain air about it. You can feel it after a while. This is excellence. This is really excellence.
So what was that like? So you were part of the decade after Jordan. What was that like? Because obviously it wasn't they lost Pippen, they lost Rodman, they lost Jordan. How did they kind of rebuild and recover from that? Well, not recover. Obviously they won 6 championships, but
yeah, I mean of course, when you have a run like that, you're not gonna repeat it once it's over. I mean, you're not gonna repeat it anytime soon. So you live with that. Basketball is also a business. You have a business to run. You have a team to build. You're making short-term plans, long-term plans. It's the world doesn't stop turning just because you disassembled a great team. So that's what they're doing. I think right now they're doing a little bit maybe of soul searching and looking for the right chemistry for the team, but I'm pretty sure they're gonna bounce back up again in the near future.
What were the trainings like for you?
In this profession, the way it is there's a huge quality, if you have it, to see what's really important and to do away with the fads. And there's a lot of fads coming and going in strength and conditioning. It's unreal. They really got it down. My boss had really gotten it down. Like, he was doing what should be done, the basics to perfection. And I love the process. There was always trying out new things, but never getting attached to the novelty.
Mm-hmm.
We know what works. Okay, maybe something else will give us that little extra edge, but we know what the main pillars are. What the foundation is, and we don't stray away from it, which is really a sign of a great program.
What would you say is the foundation, to track back a little bit? Like, what do you look at first when analyzing an athlete, and just how you're going to make a plan?
Well, first you see if the athlete is talented or not, because amateur sports aside, you're looking for talent, because if in the selection process you take a unexplosive athlete, you're never going to make him explosive. So you're looking for that potential first, and then you can fine tune it and build it and get something really, really good. So that's the first thing.
Playing back a little bit, to The Last Dance. Do you have any stories of what you saw, experienced, with the players? Anything that comes to mind?
Yeah, but I'm not really supposed to tell. Actually, there's one I can tell because I forgot my keys one night and I had to go back to the training gym at about 3 in the morning. And Derrick Rose was there with his brothers and he was shooting. He was
No
taking shots.
way.
That was
3 a.m.
yeah.
That's some Jordan type stuff. So he was just shooting around. Was he surprised to see you, or were you surprised to see him?
Yeah, he was as surprised to see me as I was surprised to see him. We just stared at each other like.
Did you join in, or were you like, no?
Shook my head and left.
So what was it like? John Paxson. He was, he stayed on. He was the GM while you were there, I think, and then now he's VP of operations. What was he like, and how was he vital in rebuilding the team?
He's great. Not only him, also some of the other guys that used to play in that Jordan era, like Randy Brown was there, Pete Myers was there. Really, they're legends of the club, and it's great that they want to hang around because the players have a lot of respect for them. They were really mentoring well, and the player will always respect somebody more if they have actually played.
I remember with that season, there was a moment where you were training my brother in basketball. He was playing in Chicago. He was playing college ball in D1 and the NCAA. And I came to visit one of the trainings. I think it was actually the first one. You were doing testings, and do you remember you were testing him? I think once on his squat jumps, and he got the same, I think, as Tyler Hansborough, who had held the record.
Yeah,
or something like that. It was crazy. I didn't believe it. It was like 1.1 inch more than Derrick Rose, and he had hops.
Yeah, your brother had the NBA hops.
Yeah. But I remember that when you guys were looking up, like when you guys were in the weight room, that area with the track, and you were doing some other, I forget what other testing, but you were doing like the bulls testing, and I just looked up and I saw the banner, "Only the strong survive." I was like, this is crazy. And then I remember I just walked away at one point. I was like, can I go shoot on the court? Because I was just starting to play basketball, and then I was just shooting around, and obviously I was so nervous just to be on that court, and I just kept hitting bricks. And then the ball just like bounced away, and like a movie, I just ran after it, and then I picked it up, and then I looked up, and I just see like 6 glistening championship trophies, and I just saw my reflection in the glass. I was like, this is incredible.
Yeah.
But yeah, being in that center, I mean, I was there once, but you could just feel that energy. I don't know, you feel the hunger regardless of what the rankings are right now or in that year, but you see that they've built a proper foundation.
There's a certain energy, and I am very fond of those days. Obviously, I always keep something on my work desk to remind me. I have this Chicago Bulls cologne.
Oh, no way! What? What does it smell like?
I never actually opened the cologne. I don't bet it smells good.
Is it Jordan Sweat?
Wait,
the
let me
sweat
see.
Of a champion. No way. Are you actually opening this? Ladies and gentlemen, he's.
Yeah, I'm not really gonna wear it. But the box is really cool.
It's Jordan special stuff for all the Space Jammers there. What do you think about the '92 Dream Team versus the 2008 Dream Team? Do you think there's even a comparison if they played today, or? Well,
that's a very
the difference in level of basketball is then and now.
That's an extremely popular question with the guys in bars and who you think would win? No way, yeah, he would destroy them. Yeah, it's pretty tricky because I think you would have to give if you had a time machine, you would have to give the Barcelona Dream Team 1 year of today's basketball to get adjusted to the different style of play, because basketball has changed a lot, and we will have to see if they would actually be as good once they adapt. My personal guess is they would be standout players, but you would have to give them a year
92?
because yeah, the 92 guys
Yeah.
because
Agreed.
different style of play. The referees are calling different things. But of course, same with everything. Once you get used to it, you can show what you can do.
Just looking at it as a training perspective, what do you think the difference in, athletic training and conditioning from then to now is? What's the biggest difference that you've seen?
The most important things, we haven't really reinvented the wheel. It's still, if you're doing good training, you're doing good training. It's not, but we've started to look at ways to optimize this old good training. And as with everything, everything now is we're gathering data. We have the means to get new information. How big is the load? And then different kinds of load, the heart rate frequency, how many miles do they run at what speed, what forces do they generate? I mean, there's so much data now, and I think it kind of the same situation in the business world. And we have an unbelievable amount of data, but we don't always know what to do with it. And this is the challenge that we're facing now. It's you can't call it even strength and conditioning anymore. You just call it sports performance, because you're dealing with numbers and algorithms and statistics, and you're trying to figure stuff out. And of course, everybody today is talking about artificial intelligence and machine learning, and this is what I've gotten into lately. It's a way of figuring out what the data actually means and how you can use it. You create different models, statistical models, and you try to predict what's going to happen in the future, and you try to influence it.
So how is that affecting, the NBA versus EuroLeague basketball? Is it the same? Because there is a difference in game, but does that affect the training at all?
Well, first of all, the NBA is ahead of the curve when it comes to technology and investing in these kind of things. I'm guessing they're about 2-3 years ahead. And I know there was a trend in the NBA in the last 5 years to try to use this, and it wasn't very successful. You remember that movie Moneyball?
Yeah.
They were trying to do that, and it worked, but only to a point. We still have work to do. We still have to figure things out.
So you had done that season with the Bulls. Then you got a call. You went to Bayern Munich. They started up a basketball club again. I mean, they had one in the 70s, no? But then they kind of
it wasn't that serious.
No, it wasn't serious. And then they rebooted it like in 2008 or something.
Yeah,
exactly. What was that like, moving back to Europe and then joining a startup team, going from, an established team to start from square one?
I mean, in a way, it was great because you have the challenge. The name is suddenly huge.
Yeah.
In Germany and in Europe, everybody's talking about them. But at the same time, there's a certain degree of frustration because you don't have the same infrastructure. There's still, it's a work in progress. So, but overall, I'm happy that I kind of left my mark for the 5 years that I was there.
What were the first 2 years like? And then in the third year, you guys won.
Yeah, it was a bumpy ride. There was a lot of shuffling of the cards, so to speak. But I guess things fell in their place in the third year. We had a coaching change, and we had like good energy, and resulted in a national championship.
And what were the schedules like? How was, the travel and all that kind of behind the scenes stuff that happens that people don't see? So they don't see how much it actually affects athletes' bodies. And then, it leads to obviously how much to train, how much to hold back.
Yeah.
Recovery.
Playing basketball in Europe can be a tough gig. I mean, there's if you're playing in the EuroLeague, that means if your team is really good, you have a lot of travel. I don't think any team has their own plane. You travel with the rest of the people. There's a lot of long bus drives, and it takes its toll on the players, psychologically and physically. I think the NBA is a little bit better organized in regards to that.
Obviously, you said that they're a bit better organized. What did you take most from that and apply to the European athletes that you worked with?
Yeah, I guess it took a little bit of convincing at first because Euro athletes we're not really fans of lifting weights. A player would come in and say, "Yeah, I don't like lifting weights. I think it will hurt me or make me slower or whatever." You get the usual excuses. Actually, not excuses. They really believe in that stuff. So I had a lot of selling to do and a lot of convincing to do. But once we got over that first hump, everything was great. They saw that it makes sense and that it made sense as they saw that it improved performance. The thing is that's really interesting that in the 80s and 90s, everybody believed in Europe that the NBA players were doped because how could you ever play 82 games plus playoffs, you know? And it was very hard to prove to anybody otherwise. But the thing was, nowadays EuroLeague is if you're playing EuroLeague and in your national championship, you're playing the same number of games. You're playing 100+ games. People now see that you can't go with 2-a-day practices like you used to and still have that kind of competition load. It's impossible. So basically, you cut back on the practices, and your game is your practice.
So what would you say is your philosophy when training or in training?
Ooh, that's a loaded question. It's very important to assess properly. So you could be working with different athletes from different sports, right? So obviously you're assessing the needs of the sport and the needs of the position that the athlete plays within the sport, but you're also assessing the athlete as an individual, like as an athlete. What are the strengths and weaknesses? Are there any bottlenecks, any deficiencies that could lead to injury, that could decrease performance? So you're looking at two ways. You're looking at the game and the position within the game, and you're looking at the actual person. And then on top of that, you have to look at the competitive season, at the calendar, so to speak, the structure, the off season, preseason, in season. What does it look like? So you have to factor a lot of things into your decisions when you're making an annual plan.
Nem let me in on a little secret, and it's the secret to your success. This is what he said: sparkling apple juice with chocolate whey protein. Would you like to elaborate on that one? He said when he came, because he also came to train with you when you were training Bayern Munich. And I think he spent 2 weeks with you or something like that. And he said that you had these refrigerators wall to wall with like sparkling apple juice, like spritzer.
Oh yeah, that's a German thing. They drink it's half apple juice, half mineral water. It's called Apfelschorle. And Apfelschorle. Can you say that word?
No. How do you say it?
Apfelschorle.
Apfelschorle. All my German friends are going to be annoyed with me, but
yeah, it's actually pretty good. I'm surprised the rest of the world doesn't drink it. It's pretty good. Yeah. Also saves money on the apple juice.
And then so let's move on to how to evaluate for different sports, because obviously you've done predominantly basketball, but you've also trained elite athletes in other sports. What do you how do you look at an athlete and change the plan completely? Or is it the same? I mean, there are different muscle groups, but even just like in the last episode with Jordan, he was like, he had to completely reconstruct his body for a baseball body. And then when he decided to come out of retirement for basketball, he had to reconstruct it back. He spent 14 months making it a baseball body, and then he was now making it, working to make it back.
I mean, as I said in my previous answer, it's pretty complex. You have to take into account a lot of factors, but the main, there's a common theme. You're looking to you're looking to build an athlete, a good athlete first, and then you're looking to make that athlete a good athlete for their sports second. If you get sports specific too early, you could miss out on a lot.
Nowadays, technology actually plays a big part in every sport, like we were kind of touching upon earlier. I wanted to see how much that has changed and affected the game that you've noticed.
It has. We have all sorts of info. We're starting to figure things out. We're doing monitoring of the workload, monitoring the state of the athlete. Is he well rested? Is he ready to perform? What is the state of the organism? We have a lot of gadgets, we measure all. We started measuring a while ago heart rate variability, where you have um, different devices. You even have like a ring that you put on your hand that measures this throughout the day. It's a special form of electrocardiogram.
Yeah, I've seen a
And
few athletes wear it. I didn't know that was for heart
not
rate
only
variability.
athletes, like people who care their performance in the business world or whatever. You connect it to your computer or your iPhone or whatever, and it tells you need more sleep. You're overstressed and stuff, and it's generally right. I've tried it, several times, and so we got stuff like that. We got cryogenic chambers. We got hypobaric chambers. We got everything.
So what's
Hy- hyperbaric chambers, not hypobaric chambers.
I was gonna say I've been reading up on that lately, because you mentioned it in conversation that the hyperbaric chambers, and then I was reading about the differences between hypo and hyperbaric chambers. So how much does that help? What about these developments are good and bad, and how does it what's the line before it kind of goes into doping and WADA comes into play?
Yeah, but by definition, doping is everything that has been proven to enhance performance. So
All right.
if more studies come out that hyperbaric chambers increase VO2 max without actually training, we could be potentially looking at that being banned. At the time of recording, it's still legal.
Yeah.
It's a great thing for, say, treatment and prevention of concussions, which is huge in American football. Also, all sorts of healing. It's a great thing.
What's the line between enhancement and recovery?
Okay, it is whatever the higher power says it is. They make the rules, so it is what it is. But I have my own personal opinion about the ethics of sports and using supplements and different procedures to help you. And I would say, as long as the main thing is it doesn't potentially harm your health, that would be the main criteria. So obviously, steroids have a huge potential for causing bodily harm. That's unethical. And plus the very essence, the nature of sport is you want to have a level playing field. So you want to have fair conditions for everybody.
So what do you see in the newest developments that's helped your job in with technology?
Yeah, all of the above. We got so many things. We're measuring bar velocities in the weight room. We're measuring all the forces generated during a jump. We have 3D high-speed cameras that together with software analyze every movement of the human body. But there are some things happening which frankly worry me a little bit, because science has gotten so far along that there are certain things that might be tempting for some people that are very, very destructive. My main concern is nowadays we're really starting to push the boundaries pretty hard. Like the other day, Elon Musk was on the Joe Rogan show, and I enjoy listening to him talk. He's a brilliant man. He was talking about interfacing computers and artificial intelligence with human intelligence, and I got a little bit scared. We have the know-how and the technology to influence and change the human genome, genetics. If somebody would want to, they could cause the specific mutations needed to create a super athlete. And this is what really, really bothers me.
That would go into obviously genetic doping. But yeah. What's the process of that look like? How do they, match the DNA? Essentially, it's almost like making clones.
We're not making clones, but say one way of doing it, not the only way. We would take a embryo during in vitro fertilization and just changing the sequence of the nucleotides. If what you're doing, you can do it. And this kind of research is banned in most countries, but there are some countries in the East where it is not banned and might even be encouraged. We might be looking in the future at people trying to build superhumans.
That's very scary.
Very scary.
It's also that's taking away from the game.
That's taking away from humanity.
And humanity, yeah, of course. But how do they even monitor that?
See, I don't even know.
Yeah, that's crazy. So they could just take just like a mixture of Jordan and the top athletes and just create a genetic code?
I don't even want to think about that, what that would look like. I hope people can restrain themselves.
You talked a little bit about AI and, machine learning. So what is, how much have you been, working on that, and what's new in that for you?
Yeah, it's really a fascinating field. It's helping us all in many different domains. AI, well, sports, it allows us to machine learning and AI take a bunch of information that we sometimes don't know what it actually means and kind of put it into a black box and get a result. So what they did is in soccer, they made a model where they took players, their age, their limb length, leg length, previous injury history, a load in the previous 3-4 weeks, I don't know, position they play on, and different things, and they let the computer figure it out. And yeah, they came out with a model that was 80% accurate in predicting hamstring injuries.
Predicting it before it happens?
Yeah, let's say, okay, this player,
wow.
if this was your input, if he plays today, if he plays the minute, the full game, we predict that he's going to pull a hammy. And in 80% of the times they were right. So it's not easy to get it right, but it's really something that we haven't been able to do in the past.
That's crazy. If that, like, preventing injury, that's one of the things that could revolutionize sports in general even more. Where do you see the industry leading to, and just anything else that kind of comes to mind to wrap it all up?
Yeah, well, I think I'm looking for technology to help us tweak and optimize what we already know. And we got a few more questions that we need answered to really take it to the next level. I don't think the basics are going to change. I don't think, because we do know a lot about training, and we do know a lot about athlete psychology, but I think this will help. But as with everything, if you make consistent optimizations in different areas, then you get a huge improvement in the end result.
Yeah, we didn't even touch on how mental the game is in general, sports. So that's something that you can't really even calculate so much.
Yeah. I mean, you can use psychometrics, but this is not an exact science.
Yeah.
I would prefer to rely on a really experienced coach to handle, these kind of things, psychological preparation and issues. I think coaches who've been in the game and had success for a while, they know these things. They can feel them.
Anything else that you want to kind of add, just to let the people know?
No, that's it.
That's it. If you didn't know, now you know. Another legend for the books. Thank you, Jovan, for coming on today, and can't wait to see you and try that apple sprit. How do you say that?
Apfelschorle.
Apfelschorle with chocolate whey protein, the majestic drink of the Legendz. Where can people find you, or do you not want to be found?
No, I have my Facebook, my Instagram, my Twitter.
Jovan Buha, Jovisha23, I believe, is your handle on Instagram. It's JOVISHA 23, the numbers. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the Legendz podcast. Stay safe and be legendary, everyone. By the way, a nice red wall. You came prepared. Bulls red.
Yeah, I painted it myself.
It's just the block of the Zoom square.